We got 3 questions here. We covered some of it in the last direct, but there seems to be a lot of people who are still asking these questions, so let's get on with it. First question from Spencer M. Hey DF, with the reveal that FSR 4.1 is going to be ported to RDNA 2 and 3, is there a chance for Xbox Series to utilize it in future, or are we too late in the generation for it to be worthwhile? Lucas _ hello, gentlemen. With FSR 4.1 coming to RDNA 2, it is indeed possible that a good upscaler could come to Xbox Series consoles, but would this actually happen in practice, with Xbox seemingly shifting focus from the Series consoles? Or should I be more optimistic now that Asher Sharma is promising a return to Xbox? Or whatever that means. Xbox is now in block capitals. It's canon. It's official. Therefore, we need to change our pronunciation. Anxiously Chrono Triggered asks, hey, DF crew, with FSR coming to RDNA 2, do you think we'll ever see a PSSR Lite on PS5? Or is PSSR so related to the Pro that Sony won't allow for this to happen? Cheers. Let's get the PlayStation question out of the way. The PSSR Lite doesn't have the PS5 base console doesn't have int 8 acceleration to the best of our knowledge, so any kind of PSSR Lite probably isn't viable. It is viable on Xbox Series consoles, Series X most specifically, owing to the computational cost. But Oliver, I think we discussed this in the last direct, but it is the case that it is very heavy on RDNA 2. Maybe there is some sort of light version that could be done for Xbox.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. I mean, on the PS5 side of things, it's important to swat that out of the way because PS5 does not have specific int 8 acceleration, whereas Series X, as far as we understand it, being full RDNA 2 should have int 8 acceleration. So PS5 effectively just has to brute force it on the shaders using FP16, basically. And if you do the math, it would be something like 20 tops on PS5. Compare that to like PS5 Pro. PS5 Pro has like 300 tops, so it's not really in the same ballpark. It's not in the ballpark of being able to run something like PSSR in real time. It can do like some simple things, like I think that Insomniac used the FP16 acceleration for some basic like muscle solving in some of their games, in Spider-Man or something.
Right.
But I don't think it'd be appropriate for the kind of real-time graphics uses that are being contemplated here with PSSR. In theory, though, Xbox, sure. But it's a question of whether developers bother. It's a question of whether AMD does the work to port it to work in the GDK. These are questions that are ultimately hard to answer. And it's also, I think, especially problematic in an environment where these Xbox games are generally being developed with PS5 in mind as well, even the Microsoft first-party games that we know of. So, like, are you going to put a lot of work into getting a performant and good-looking FSR 4.1 implementation in your game on Xbox, even assuming that AMD is there hand-in-hand with you on that project, when you're just going to be implementing FSR 3 on PlayStation 5 anyways, and maybe you want to focus on that, and maybe actually get a colorably decent visual result from that without needing to dip into FSR 4.1. And obviously the fact that we're so late into the generation and the Xbox platform is kind of being deprecated rather soon, we suspect, is feeding into that being less likely, I think.
Yeah, so John, I think the theory here is that FSR 4 running from a lower internal base resolution will still look better than FSR 3 running from a higher base resolution. But I think the problem is that we've already got FSR 3 upscaling from like 720p on a lot of games. So I'm not seeing this as a fully viable option.
Agreed. I feel like resolutions are just getting a bit too low at this point in general. And like, we can't lean so heavily on this. Like, there is a limit to what these technologies can do, right? And yeah, I don't know. It's starting to. The more I think about it, the more it really feels like developers have just pushed a little bit too far with a lot of modern releases in terms of their targets for resolution and visuals, right? Like, I like that stuff. I think it's cool. I think it's neat that it's available on the PC as an option, but consoles, like, you know what? I give up. Like, it's most of this choices. If you're doing Lumen and all that on Unreal and things like that, just stop. It's over. It's too slow. These consoles just can't do it. Like, I'm only okay with this stuff in the case of something like what id Software is doing,
Right.
like where they're actually able to do really nice ray tracing at an actual good speed and with pretty darn good image quality. If you don't have the chops, stop. Basically.
Fair enough. I think there is maybe one sort of possibly redeeming factor here that might make it possible for Xbox. Simply, if they're looking for a unified developer environment between Helix and Xbox Series consoles, then in theory, they've already talked about the new generation of FSR technologies going to Helix. If they're within that development kit, there may well be sort of leeway for stuff like upscaling, super resolution to actually go to series as well. The problem is, of course, exactly what we were talking about earlier, which is that with a lot of games actually targeting PlayStation 3, simply just PlayStation 5 rather, they can target PlayStation 3. That would be quite good. But they're targeting PlayStation 5, which won't be able to run these technologies. There's a lot of questions to answer there in terms of frame time budgets. If there's a cheaper upscaler for PlayStation 5, which runs a lot faster, then what are you going to do on Xbox Series? Are you going to rebudget everything to fit in a computationally more dense scaler? Are you going to lower resolution? There's a lot of complicating factors, I think, there. But theoretically, it is possible.